Evening, peeps. Good evening, everyone. All right, let's see what there is to talk about from the world of boxing today. Before we do that, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you guys are new to the channel. Don't forget as well to like and share the vids. We are closing in on 30,000 subscribers. I never ever thought this channel would get anywhere near that number, so thank you so much to everyone that has subscribed. It would be good. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be very difficult, but it would be good to get very, very close to it or get it before my birthday, March 25th. You never know. You never know, right? All right, let's read out the stories that we've got here. Gary Russell Jr., I have a little slight injury. I won't elaborate until after the fight. Remember, I did that video, was it yesterday or the day before, where I said if Gary Russell Jr. is not on his A game, so if he's not above like 90, 95%, we could have an upset here. We could. I mean, remember last year, boxing was full of upsets. So many big ones, huge ones. This will be a big one. It won't be a huge one, by the way. Mark Maseo, who he's fighting, is no slouch. He's unbeaten, good knockout record, aggressive, young, hungry. It won't be a huge upset. It'll be an upset, though. It'll be an upset. And look, this already tells me, this little slight injury, that he's not going to be 100%. I mean, look, it might not be anything too serious, but the fact he's mentioned it, that means it's up here already. I don't know, man. I'm definitely standing up to watch this fight, by the way. I think it's going to be a good one, but yeah, I'm not sure. We'll see how this one plays out. I sense an upset. Could be wrong. Gary Russell Jr. could just school him and it could be one-sided, but I wouldn't be shocked come Sunday morning when we do our Sunday session live if we're talking about a Gary Russell Jr. having lost for the second time in his career. Wouldn't shock me. Brook, if Khan exercises rematch clause, he can have another beatdown. I didn't even know there was a rematch clause. That's kind of rare, isn't it, for there to be a rematch clause in a fight with no title on the line. Like when there's titles on the line, you kind of get it. If there's no title on the line, it's a bit strange to have a rematch clause. But look, depending upon how this fight goes, people might want a second. They might. I'd be very, very shocked if we waited all of 10 years to get one and then we get a second immediately after. I saw Kel do an interview today from his training camp. Bear in mind the fight's, a month away. He still looked very, very big, like very big. What weight's this fight? Is it 149? I don't think it's 147. I think 149, 150. Kel looked, I might be wrong here, but he looked around 160 something pounds. He looked really big still, whereas Khan looks like he's already starting to lean up. I mean, Khan's naturally a lot slimmer and a lot smaller anyway, but yeah, I think we might have a weight issue for Kell Brook. Doesn't shock me because anyone, I mean, look, as you get older, it's difficult, man. It's difficult. Trust me, I'm trying to lose weight right now and it is hard. I'm not a professional fighter, don't get me wrong, but it is bloody difficult. And I'm doing cardio every single day. So yeah, we might have an issue with regards to Kell making that weight. Didn't Amir Khan say something like, for every pound Kell's over, there's like something in the contract where he gets fined, was it 10,000 or 100,000? It must be 100,000. For 10,000, Kell would take that. Kell would come in a lot over if it was only 10,000. So we'll see. Eddie Hearn did an interview today with pro boxing fans. Shout out to pro boxing fans. Their channel's grown. I think they're touching 16,000 subs. Well done to everyone working on that channel. Right at the end of the interview, obviously Eddie speaks about all the subjects right now. Spoke about Lee Wood, Michael Condon, which is going to be a great fight. Spoke about AJ Usyk, etc. Right at the end, he touched on Buatsi and what's going on with Joshua Buatsi. And he said that he's made a big offer to Anthony Yarde for that Joshua Buatsi fight next. So not, somewhere in 2022, next. He also said he's made an offer to Craig Richards as well. Remember, Craig Richards is with Matchroom and DAZN, so it's an easier fight to make. But look, I want to talk about the Yarde Buatsi one because I love it. I love it. I mean, everywhere I've gone, I've said it's the fight I want more than anything this year. And look, there's some massive fights you can make, so it sounds stupid to say that. But nothing for me. I grew up in the 90s when British boxing was all about, it wasn't necessarily about the international fighters fighting our guys, by the way. It was about domestic dust-ups. Like, I grew up on it. Like, I grew up on Ben and Eubank and Watson and Eubank. I grew up on that. So there's nothing I like more than a domestic dust-up. Nothing. Plus, aside from all that, I think it's a great fight between two guys that I think are world level. I really do. And some people say, oh, I can understand if you're going to tell me, well, they're not proven, I get that. But I watch and I think those two guys are world level. I really do. I don't know if they're number 1 and 2 in the light heavyweight division, but for me, it's the most exciting fight you can make in the light heavyweight division. Yarde, Callum Johnson would be fun as well, but I like the idea of Yarde versus Buatsi. It's something that should have happened maybe a couple of years ago, prior to Yarde fighting Kovalev. Buatsi's had his injuries as well. Yarde then got beat by Lyndon Arthur. Buatsi came through against, was it Kalic, where his eye really swelled up? Remember, that was a tough fight, but then he's come back after that and had that fight against Bolotniks. Was supposed to fight Maxim Vlasov, which would have been a really, really tough fight because I think Vlasov beat Joe Smith, so it would have been fighting a world champion, but that didn't happen because of injuries. We're at a stage now where they're both prime, ripe, ready to go. And I think this is the perfect time to get it on. Now, look, some will say, and I agree with this statement, if a world title is on the line, it's a bigger fight. It is. But in this game, sometimes it's all about making that as well. And I think there's more money in Buatsi versus Yarde than there is in Buatsi taking on Dimitri Bivol or Yarde taking on Joe Smith. Now, don't get me wrong, both of them could go that way and get world titles, and then they come back and it's even bigger. But you're rolling the dice again here, because I don't know how confident I am in both of them going that route and getting world titles and then coming back and fighting each other. For a number of reasons. Number one, the fights are hard. Number two, once they go there, you just go there, you go there, you go there, and it's difficult to come back. There is more money on the table in Yarde versus Buatsi than there is in any other fight they can make in the light heavyweight division unless they're fighting Canelo. That's fact. That fight does the O2 Arena just like that. Sells out immediately. There's a lot of money on the table. And it might be, we know Eddie and DAZN were talking about their new pay-per-view structure. I think Eddie mentioned it, like if it's a big, big fight, it probably will be one that goes on that. And look, I'm not here fucking, preaching about pay-per-view. I'm not going to get into all that, but it could be one that goes on that. If it's on the BT platform, it'll be one that's on BT as well. But if Eddie's made the offer, then it will be on DAZN. I love it. I love that fight. And I'm going to try and get Tunde in here soon, very soon, hopefully in about a week's time. I think he's back from Dubai now, and ask him about this fight, because for me, it's a fight that, look, these are the fights that you're remembered for. You really are. When it's all said and done, these are the fights that you remember for. If you think, it's funny because you think about the Ben Eubank thing, and don't get me wrong, they're remembered obviously because they were polar opposites as well. You think of the fights that Ben's had after that. Ben going to America, Ben beating Gerald McClellan here, but he's always known, that Ben Eubank thing is always, that's what it's always, it's unlinkable. You can't, disconnect them. And I feel like Yarde Buatsi could build their own like that. I really do. Look, if there was a real big name in the light heavyweight division, like a superstar, and look, don't say Canelo because he's not really in the division, then, chase that person. But Beterbiev's not a superstar. Bivol's not a superstar. It's not as Joe Smith. I think these two, if they got it on over here, it could build something incredible. It really could. And you can probably hear my voice. I'm desperate for it. If Eddie has sent an offer over, he sent the offer because 258 management have said send an offer, and that means Buatsi has said, I want that fight. You don't just send an offer for no reason. They want that fight. Buatsi wants it. And I think Buatsi wants it because stop wasting time now. You've had your injury. I don't know if he's in a position to fight a Bivol, Beterbiev, or Joe Smith. I want Yarde. Yarde's hot right now. Yarde is hot right now. When I did that sit-down podcast with Rob Tebbett in Boxing Social, I think Rob Tebbett, we spoke about what British fighters do you think will become world champion this year. Rob Tebbett said Anthony Yarde. I think people were very impressed with that performance against Lyndon Arthur. James Cook's obviously brought something to the table. I think Tunde has answered a lot of critics as well. And I think Yarde looked rich. Yarde just looked good. Yarde looked fantastic. And it's a fight that, for the sake of British boxing, it needs to be made. It needs to be made, man. It really does. In saying all that, I think there's more chance of it being Craig Richards versus Buatsi. That's a good one as well. There's no there's no slight on that fight. I think that's a great fight as well. I really do. But for me, the one I want to see is Yarde Buatsi, because that's the one I've always wanted to see. Like, Dan Aziz has crept up now on me, and Callum Smith was 168, and Craig Richards has crept up now after the Bivol performance. They've all crept up. Yarde Buatsi's been there for the last 3 years for me. I've wanted to see it for 3 years. So the others have somehow got involved in it, and that's all well and good, but Yarde Buatsi's been in there, here, for 3 years. I need it. I need it. Yeah? Let's hope it happens. All right, let's see if there's anything else before we go. It's pretty late, 10:30, actually 10:30 is not late. Not late for me. Terry Harper, very pumped to face Heather Hardy in Crossroads clash. Now, a lot of people are saying this is risky, like very, very risky. Terry Harper coming off that loss. I thought she might take a bit longer out of the ring. I think this fight is on the... Is it on the Alexander Palace one? Let's have a quick look. So that's coming up in less than a month. I don't know. Is it that one? No. Okay. No, it's not. It's a bit longer. So this is Nottingham. So this is the Michael Conlan Lee Wood fight. Okay, it's a bit longer. She got time. This is a bit risky though. Heather Hardy, very, very experienced. Not just at boxing, but she's mixed martial arts. She's done a bit of everything, hasn't she? Obviously a lot older, 39 now, Heather Hardy. I guess the one thing, and it's maybe smart matchmaking, Heather Hardy is a bit of a name. But in terms of the power that Baumgardner brought to the ring, Heather Hardy doesn't do it. So if you think of all her fights, I think Heather Hardy's only knocked out 4 people or stopped 4 people. So I don't think Terry Harper's going to be fearful of the power. So I think that it's good matchmaking in that sense. Plus at 39, I mean, if you can't beat this version of Heather Hardy, then more questions need to be asked. And I know that Terry Harper's jumping up in weight, but look, more questions need to be asked about Terry Harper's credentials as a world level fighter if she can't get rid of Heather Hardy. I think she will, and I think it'll be a good scrap. I think it's a good addition to the card. Michael Conlan and Lee Wood did their face-to-face today in Nottingham. They're doing their, I don't know when this video is going to go out. I'll probably put it out tonight. They're doing their next face-to-face in Belfast tomorrow. I think Nottingham was quite kind. I think Belfast is going to be brutal to Lee Wood, really brutal, but we'll see. WBC President Furman versus Barrios is an official eliminator, not a final eliminator. Whatever. $74.95 for that. 55 quid. 50. Think of that for a second. Think of that as that price. 55 quid for Furman Barrios.